every time she shrinks the fabric. This is the result.
Hi, I'm Robin Bird, a fashion design student and sewing coach. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to do a pre-shrinkage test. You'll see how easy it really is. What is a pre-shrinkage test? A pre-shrinkage test is a quick test you can do before you wash your sewing fabric. Like to pre-wash your fabric before you sew it, then the pre-shrinkage test is still important because it helps you work out if you have a proper quantity of material before you sew. That way, you'll be better equipped for when you have to launder your garment the very first time. Before you launder your swatch, you should look at your care instructions to see if your material can go into a washing machine, if you must dry clean it, or hand wash it. If the material cannot be laundered at home, then you won't be able to do a pre-shrinkage test. You might also have the option of steaming the fabric to shrink it with an iron too. Let's take a look at 5 main points that you could keep in mind when doing any pre-shrinking test for any piece of fabric. And then I'm going to do a demonstration of a pre-shrinking test and share the results with you. Step 1. Draw a template of a square box. If you're working in centimeters, draw it 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. If you're working in imperial or inches, draw it as 4 inches by 4 inches. Hang on to this template because you're going to need it later on. Step 2. Cut out a swatch of your fabric in exactly the same measurements as your template. Step 3. Launder the swatch of the fabric. And don't forget the care instructions when you do. So if you want to see what the fading is like, I suggest that you use the detergent that you would normally use on the fabric when you launder the garment for the first time. But whichever way you do this, you should be laundering it according to the care instructions. Okay, by this time you've laundered your swatch of fabric, you've dried it, and you've ironed it. So step 4 is to compare that swatch to the square that you drew in your template. And when you do that, you're going to look for fading, fraying, and the amount of shrinkage. And step 5 is, when you finish, why not decide to keep a swatch book of these pre-shrinking tests as a handy reference for the future. So if you keep a swatch of every piece of fabric that you launder from now on, you can write down notes about the fading and the fraying and the shrinkage. And this will be a wonderful reference for you in the future because you won't have to keep trying to remember how much shrinkage you had with each kind of fabric. It also is a handy reference for when you're using similar fabrics too. Now we're going to go and actually do the pre-shrinkage test. So let's see what we find out. I've got the satin and I've got the cotton. Now I've checked my care instructions beforehand, and that's important because when I do my fabric test, I found out that my satin fabric should be washed. If I'm going to do it in a machine, then I need to use a cold water wash, and I should use a delicate fabric detergent. With a cotton broadcloth, I can do it in cold water, and in my case I have to because my washer is always set on cold. So I can do it in cold, so that's good, but cotton can be done in a rougher cycle than the satin. So I'm going to be doing 2 different washes. Let's start with the satin. Okay, so first I'm going to put in my detergent. I might as well use this one on both of them. It's a delicate detergent. You don't have to do this for a shrinkage test, but I want to because I also want to see how much the fabric frays when I wash it. So, since I've got such a small little square, I'm just going to put in half of a cap. Okay, come on down. My detergent. And then let's take a look at the settings on my machine. Come right down here. Okay, so for this satin, it's going to go in the machine. I've just chucked it in there, and I'm going to put it on delicates. And that's all I need to do, and I just start the wash. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the blue cotton broadcloth. So come on down, and instead of delicates, I'm just going to put it on a cotton, and I'm going to throw this one in, and in it goes. So that's going to be washing for a while, and then I'm going to put it in a similar dry cycle, just checking my instructions to see how to dry it and how I iron it. So here are our results of the tests. And when you look at the satin, when it's placed up against the original 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter square, there really is not a lot of shrinkage there. I've placed it right beside a piece of similar fabric that was not washed, so similar satin fabric, same fabric. And in terms of fading and fraying, you can see that there really isn't too much fading on the satin, but the fraying is considerable. So with this, you can really see the reason to serge the edges or to use a zigzag stitch, because on large quantities of fabric, you will lose money. With the blue broadcloth, we were quite lucky. There's very minimal shrinkage that has happened, but you can see the fraying is considerable. When you place this fabric up against 10 by 10 square, you can see that, well, there has been some fading too, but fortunately not as much as I've seen with some fabrics.
And that's it. That's all there is to doing a pre-shrinkage test. As you can see, it's very easy, and yet a very professional step in dressmaking, which even an absolute beginner can do. You might also like to check out my video on pre-washing fabric. So please subscribe to my channel so I can keep giving you videos about the questions that you ask. And I hope I gave you some good tips. And if so, please like my channel. It really helps me. Till next time, remember, don't let fitting room frenzy get you down when you can sew it better.